Hi everyone, I thought I'd just record a quick video to show people how to check their entry at DV Lottery entry status check website. A lot of people are having a problem with this year after year, and I've got a link that on my website which should help people checking without mistakes. And so people can go ahead and check this particular article. And really all I'm going to do is just describe for you what I'm saying on this same page. There's no special trick to it. If you just take your time and have a look at what I'm about to show you, this can be very easily checked and people are having a problem with it. So let me show you what I think people are struggling with. Let me take an example. Let's imagine that your name is John Michael Smith. The first name would be John, the middle name is Michael, and the last name is Smith. This would be your surname, sometimes called the surname, family name, last name. It's the name typically that most people within the same family as you are called. In some countries it's different. I do know, for example, in let's say in Spain or in Spanish language, somebody could be called, let's say, Juan Lopez Smith. Okay, and in that case, this name Lopez would be from the father. This Smith would be from the mother, and the child would be called Juan Lopez Smith, whereas the father would be Juan Lopez something or other, and the mother of Juan would be Maria Smith Lopez, whatever. But the point being that the combination of the name is different for each person. I'll come back to this example in a minute and show you how that would be written. Anyway, the first name in my example is John, then Michael, then Smith. When you see your notification for checking from the DV Lottery website, you'll see that there is a comma after the last name, and the John Michael is last. Now you might have made a mistake when you did the entry. You might have put your last name as your first name. You might have done this wrong, but basically whatever is in front of the comma is what the DV Lottery site will think is your last name. So that's what you've got to use to check. Okay. If your example is like this, where your name is Juan Lopez Smith and Lopez Smith is your last name, then the entry is going to look, when you see your confirmation, it's going to look like this. It's going to be Lopez Smith, comma, Juan. Okay. Again, whatever is in front of the comma is the last name. Let's say you've got a double-barreled thing. You couldn't have entered that hyphen in the original, so you may have entered it connected, or it may have been with a space. But again, whatever is in front of the comma is what's important for you to enter. Okay, so let's go and check an entry. And we'll go over to the DV Lottery website. That's the address. I'll put the address for the lottery website below. And you go to this page, and this is the page you'll be looking at. I'm checking this obviously in 2019, so we've got DV 2020 entrants able to check this, and a DV 2019 entrant could also check at the moment to see if they had won last year, although time is almost run out for them to check and process that case at this point in time. We're June of 19 right now. Okay, so first thing you do is you click on the check status. And have a look at this. It's nothing fancy about this. Basically, if you wanted to go directly to this page, you could go to that bit with the ESC. That's the entrance status check page. If I ever tell you on my blog to check the entrance status page or the ESC page, this is where I'm telling you to go and check. Go to that page and come in here, right? Okay, so I've got a slightly sort of, this is a real number with a different name. So this person, let's say his name was Fred Dimitru. Excuse me, hacking up your name there. That's terrible, but Dimitru. Okay, and let's say this guy is called Fred. That's not a real last name there. But best thing to do is when you've got this this number is, rather than type it in, actually paste it in if you can. And there are some typical errors that can be made, and we'll talk about those in a minute. You know, very often people will misunderstand whether it's a 0. So let me just take this out. I'll take the last couple of characters out. Sometimes people put a 0 like that, a 0 instead of an O. An O looks like that, okay? There's confusion between 1 and I, right? So if we take those out, let's say 1, and let's put in an I, capital I. They look very similar, right? So there is a message that pops up when you put in the wrong code here. If you try and check your status, if you got the code wrong, there's a message that pops up to tell you to check the characters to make sure that what you think is an I is not really a 1, or vice versa. What you think is a 0 is not a 0, perhaps it's a capital O. And so, you know, check that. Make sure that you're doing the right thing there. Okay. So, okay, back to this. And in our case, the name we're going to check is in front of the comma, right? Everything in front of the comma. This particular code, by the way, was sent to me by someone who said they've checked many, many times. They've been checking for a month. They've checked hundreds of times, and obviously the system is broken. And I hear this constantly from people. And every time I do this, it works for me first time because I follow the advice, I follow the instructions. And so it says here, provide the last family name that was used on the diversity visa lottery form, including punctuation. Okay, forget the punctuation bit. That wouldn't normally apply to you, but put in the last name there and the year of the birth, which is 1977 in this case. Enter the code. This is called a capture code. Enter that in and click submit. And that's as simple as that. In this case, has not been selected is the answer. If this case had been selected, there would be a letter here which says, congratulations, you've been selected for further processing, blah, blah, blah. Lots of stuff it says. Only winners see that confirmation. The majority of people see has not been selected. This is not a winning entry. It says that you should keep your, you can recheck your entrance status at a later point. They say that because in some years there's a second draw. In DV 2020, I very much doubt at this point there's going to be a second draw. The second draw is where they add some additional winners to the number of winners that have already been selected. But I suspect, as of the time of recording this video, that DV 2020 is going to be over-selected. So there was no point, there's going to be no point to add more winners later on. Sometimes, in some years, like in DV 2018, there were some winners added, about 5,000 additional winners were added at around about October of the processing year. And that's just where they under-select to start with and then add a few more later on once they realize they're going to need a few more winners. But it's very unlikely to happen in DV 2020, and it doesn't happen every year. So that's an explanation of why they sometimes say to recheck. But there's only a point of rechecking in about October of each year. And you know, basically, if you see not selected on your entry, that's it. You're not selected this year. Don't forget, this is a lottery. I watched a very sad video the other day of this lovely guy who had built up. He was absolutely certain he was going to win. He had built up in his mind the fact that it was just fate. We have to remember that this is a lottery, and only around about one winner in 200 entries is selected. And since you can only enter once every year, that means your chance of selection is something like once in 150 or 200 years. You could apply many, many times and never be selected. That's entirely normal. It doesn't mean you've got particularly bad luck. It just means you're not selected. Other people, of course, can try the first time and be selected. My own selection was on the second time of entry. So keep trying, you may be lucky. But hopefully this video has helped you with figuring out how to check your entry without making mistakes. And it really is as simple as that. All right, have a great day. I hope you enjoy your entry if you're a winner. Bye now.